Welcome to Forward Ever, Leading in Challenging Times, presented by Worth Wealth Management, a weekly conversation with area leaders about how to persevere during uncertain times. Now here's your host, Gary Shorman.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Forward Ever, Leading in Challenging Times. On our program today, Kris Munsch. And Kris, you and I have been talking along the way about what our program is going to be about, and it's about little things, like hitting the record button. You know, sometimes you just have to do the right things to make something happen, and it's usually the little things that make a difference. Kris, good to have you along on the program today. And when we talked about little things, we've talked about some of this before, but we got to get into what are the little things that make a difference. One of those is getting an early start on the day. You and I started this conversation early today and actually a little bit yesterday, early in the morning, about what's going on. Do you ever know an entrepreneur? Have you known entrepreneurs that sleep in late till 10 o'clock every day?
If they're out there, I don't know how they do it. If you go out and research the people that are successful in business, and most all of them are going to tell you they get up early. That's now I know there's people out there that succeed and work late and sleep in. But to me, the problem is the world's already engaged and the world's already happening. There's things going on, and you're already missing out on those things. My first phone call this morning was about 10 after 3. Water loss up in Smith Center. Now that's a whole different world. That's part of my business. And you get up and have that conversation. So I'm already firing and thinking about how am I going to help these people? How am I going to juggle that schedule? Most of the employees are still sleeping, but I'm processing and doing those things. And that's not just when I get a phone call in the morning for a water loss. That's every morning. I think it's healthy for an entrepreneur to get up early. Some people think I'm not very much of a routine guy, but I am super routine. Get up a certain time, do a certain thing, make one cup of coffee here because I know I'm going to have a cup of coffee at work. And it just gives you time. I scroll the news. I look and see what's going on in Iran or what are the chiefs up to, just to kind of see what's happening in the world around me. So I'm not walking in, blank to the world. So I think if you look up entrepreneurs out there, they're all getting up early and they're firing. By the time they get to work, everybody that gets here, they're already firing on all cylinders.
In my case, Kris, I get up and do exercise and then get to work. But if I get to work late and running behind, everything just seems to be behind all day long because you're playing catch up with people like you and other people that are out there doing getting business done, and it always seems like you're behind. So getting that early start kind of gets you ahead of it and gets one leg up on the rest of the world. They don't need to know that, but it gives you that mental edge to take on those things that need to happen.
Yeah, when a lot of people are having breakfast, I'm already having lunch. I think it goes back to a lot of people. I hear this comment a lot. Man, I do not know how you get so much done. And my response is 2 days a day. I'm going to work 2 days a day if I possibly can. And I know that sounds crazy, 16 hours. And I don't work 16 hours all the time physically, but I am mentally firing for 16 hours, right? There's just some nights I sit down after a day and Larissa says, "What do you want to watch on TV?" I'm like, I'll be honest with you, I don't even want the TV on. I just want to look at my phone and scroll and just kind of disconnect from, I don't have the mental power to absorb what's on TV. But I believe that's power naps, buddy. Talk about a little thing. I am a power napper.
A power nap. Tell me about a power nap.
A power nap for me is I can get home at lunchtime, 11:30, 1 o'clock, grab a little bite to eat. I can sit down and close my eyes for sometimes 1 minute, sometimes 5 minutes, never longer than 5 minutes. My body goes down. I wake back up and I am reconnected, refired, and I can then go another 6 to 7, 8 hours. But that just kind of resets my brain. If it's longer than that, it makes me groggy and then kind of in a bad mood. So, but I just don't. I just don't do it. And I love, if you see my truck parked along the road up to Smith Center and you see me kick back in my seat, that's because it doesn't matter where I am. I want my little power nap. It's a great way to reset your mind.
I love that because this is a random note. This is random off the thing, but I just read a thing that cows can sleep standing up because their knees buckle in. They can just sleep standing up. I assume you don't sleep standing up in the corner, but sometimes it's nice to be able to find a good bed to lay down in, but that usually isn't the case. It's a good chair, a good sofa, a good seat in your truck where you can take that brief rest and your mind gets that rest is probably the biggest part.
Yeah, uh, entrepreneurs are always processing and thinking, right, about what they did in the past, what they're doing, and where they're going. So it's a threefold thing, and I think you need that ability to, that morning time is that kind of thinking about where you've been and now where am I headed. But I think the afternoons for me, it's the difference between we can get trapped in working in our business or on our business, and there's a big difference there. You can be I can be going out and doing water losses and working in my business, but there are points in that where I've got to step away from all of that and work on my business. So how is it doing? What's the future look like, right? I don't want to be here for the next 20 years doing this. So who's going to be the successor of this business? And those are all things to be thinking about, the little things.
Let me ask you this. Do you ever have a problem that you're working on, you don't have a good answer for, you take your power nap, and when you wake up, you have a good answer?
Oh, it's just like working on an old car. You get frustrated, you can't do it, step away from it. Sleep, go to bed, sleep on it. You're most likely thinking about it while you're sleeping, and you come back and it goes right together. And I think the same thing happens when you step away from an internal employee problem or customer issues. It just gives you a chance to kind of reorganize and rethink about how to approach it. Perspective. In the minute, it can be the biggest thing on the planet, but in reality, it's just a small snippet of something that you just need to, how do you address it, right? And this conversation we're having, this is not the first time we've had this conversation. If I go give a presentation somewhere, I give that presentation before I get there. I talk to my employees before I go talk to my employees. How am I going to approach them? What are, so it's just gives you a chance to that mental work, right? It's always that mental work.
Let's give our listeners and viewers a couple other little things. What other little things are on your list, Kris?
Well, I'm not very good at taking breaks. I struggle with that. One of my accountants one day, I went in and seen him. This was years and years ago, and he told me, he said, Munch, you need to step away for a few days. You've been doing this way too long. You're getting a little rambly on me. And so that perspective change, stepping away, is a little thing. Gives you a chance to think about it, right? And I'm gonna throw myself to the wolves on this one, and it's eating healthy. I don't eat the best, and that, too many McDonald's hamburgers can clog up the old brain, and your clarity starts to fade
It's good
away.
food, but not every day, right?
No, it's good. It's in how do you? I've got some favorite hamburger spots out all over the place, and I like to time my timing for those. But is that the best way to be? And when do you exercise and get that health, right? And I see people out there that are my age. I'm like, man, they look way older than me. And I know I look old, but I'm working, I'm busy, I'm active. Right? And that changes pretty quick.
Boy, you have some friends on social media that could probably take you to task on some of these things, but that just makes a huge difference. The other thing, and I want to just, not sure how to word this, but activity. I don't see you sitting behind the desk very much, and you'd like to move. Somebody once had a seminar I was at, and they were talking about make a breeze when you walk. And, you just got to get somewhere, be fast, get things done, move to the next thing and all that. I think as an entrepreneur, you have to lead the charge for the rest of your team, at least when you're getting started. Then you'll find some other team members that will maybe pick up that that mission and do that same thing.
I tell you what, here's what it comes down to. Here's a little thing. When I walk across my parking lot headed back to the back building, I am not just going back to the back building. I am looking down at the ground and I'm looking for screws and nails and things on the ground, because one of those is going to end up in the tires of one of our vans. And then
always.
Yep. That tire is going to be flat when we need that van the most, or maybe we don't, and they're going to be out of town and they have a flat tire. And then that's an issue. It's a perspective change, right? I'm invested in this and I'm invested in making sure that screw gets picked up. And you are right, man. I love that walk with a breeze. And when I'm headed back to the back of the building with somebody else that's an employee or coming to do something, I am 10 steps ahead of them. And it's because I'm on a mission, right? And they're just not on the same mission as you. My wife is not on the same mission as me. She's like, dude, slow down. I'm like, I get on my back because we're going.
that happens, and we'll talk. Let's take a break and come back and talk a little bit about your team and keeping up and how you encourage that with team meetings and et cetera. Our guest today is Kris Munsch. We're talking about the little things that make a difference when you're an entrepreneur. Stay tuned. We'll be right back after this from Worth Wealth Management.
Since 1776, the United States of America continues to stand tall. It's been tested before, many times. Through grit and the ability to move forward, we create better tomorrows. We help our clients live their best lives to and through retirement. We make it easier. Thank you, Kansas. Worth Wealth Management, enhancing lives and strengthening families.
Welcome back to Forward Ever, leading in challenging times. Kris Munsch is our guest today. We're talking about entrepreneurship. Kris, we talked about getting up early. We talked about power naps. We talked about making a breeze when you walk. We talked about being able to have time to think. What are the other things on your little things list that we can wrap up the program with and give somebody that either is an entrepreneur or wants to become one or just wants to be a better leader in their business? What are a few of the other things you've learned along the line?
Man, I'll tell you what. Here's a big one. Know you. Know you and know the people around you, right? Because and I'll tell you who I learned that from was my son Blake, and who's passed away now. But I remember buying him a tool belt and all these different kinds of things. And Blake was one day said, "Dad, I don't want to be a builder." I'm like, "What? You got to want to do this." He's like, I don't want to be a builder. I want to be a policeman. I'm like, "What?" And it's taught me a lesson over the years that not everybody's going to be looking for screws. Not everybody's going to walk as fast as I am. Not everybody's going to want to take the risk, right? Not everybody's going to want to pile stuff on their plate. Not everybody's going to want to take a power knob. Not everybody wants to get up early. You can set that tone, but not everyone is going to understand that music, right? I mean, my wife is like, "Listen, dude, you can go do what you do and you can get up early and you can go do all those things. But this is my time. My time is now. Your time is then. Well, let's respect that." And that is crucial in I think being a good entrepreneur, because a good entrepreneur is not a good entrepreneur by themselves, right? We cannot do this by ourselves. It takes a team of people, and every person on that team is different. Thank goodness. And I need all those perspectives. I need all that tribal knowledge that's been here to learn and grow. Because if you don't have that, this place would not work if it was just me. There's no way.
We address this program as little things. That's a huge thing, though, is to understand your team. And that team can be family. That team can be your team at work. That team can be your associates at church or whatever thing you're doing. But you have to understand the differences between people and what to do that. And that just, one, takes some time and patience and understanding where they are in their evolution and what they want to do and their goals are, because not everybody has the same goals that you do as an entrepreneur. to be able to grow a business and change a business. And understanding that is a big step. And I know you're working on a couple businesses now, and you're trying to find some other people that jump into that role, one, to help follow yourself. But you have to understand that.
Yeah, I'm starting to work on a 6-session plan for Restore and Clean, and who's going to step in someday, and who's going to take the helm of this. Because one, I don't want to do it forever. I'm smart enough to know what I'm good at is the building part. I'm not the best manager, right? But who's going to succeed me in that, and what does that person look like? I don't know that I see the right person being somebody like me, like my personality and my drive and my. But then again, I don't know for sure what that person needs to look like. But unless I start asking those questions and have a good understanding of who I am and how I've gotten where I am, and then listening to these other people and let them come in and share who they are, am I going to really be able to find the right person to step in and start learning from the ground up, right? This drinking, instead of drinking from a fire hose like I did 3 years ago and trying to take all this on, how do I feed them in the right order, and make sure they can eat it at the right pace, right? Because if you feed them too fast, they'll choke on it basically. And if you don't feed them fast enough, and I learned that from being a teacher. You get in a classroom of all these personalities, and you start here when you really should start here, but when you start here, the people that are already up here are bored. So how do you keep everybody moving along? Man, that's just a critical thing to be doing.
Kris, I love this discussion. We'll continue along next month and continue on some of these same thoughts. But one of the things between now and then is maybe sharing some of the ideas with us next time of those people that you've learned from, whether it be books, people that you read about or hear about, how they've built their businesses. And then, because I know people out there that are doing some of the same things you're trying to, maybe not the same business, probably not the same business, but they've done other companies where they've built them and then continued to grow that business. Let's talk about that next time we get together. Those people out there that there are more Kris Munches out there. How are they doing? And maybe compare some notes. You know who they are, and we'll work on that next time. Does that work for you?
That's an awesome conversation. Let's do it.
All right. An early start at 3:10 in the morning. That's probably earlier than most of us. But you do your job when you need to do your job, and you do those little things to make it work. Kris, thanks for joining us today. Thanks for being a part of our program here on Forward Ever.
It's good to be here.
Good to have you. Kris Munch is our guest today on Forward Ever, talking about entrepreneurship. Today we talked about the little things. Thanks for listening. Our program is brought to you by Worth Wealth Management, where you can live with confidence. I'm Gary Shorman.
Thanks for joining us for Forward Ever, Leading in Challenging Times, presented by Worth Wealth Management. Join us right here next week for another episode with host Gary Shorman. Until then, remember to move forward ever, backward never.